Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. It's acorn squash time. Stuffed acorn squash is what I'm making today. And if this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. I live in the thumb of Michigan. I love canning. That's what that sound is. I love baking and vintage recipes and just sharing life here. And thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to make, as part of my menu plan for this week, stuffed acorn squash. So come on down, let's get it going. Okay, the TV was loud because Jim was recovering and in the living room, so I'm going to do a voiceover. And you start off by cutting off a thin slice from the bottom and the top. And if you've never cut a hard shell squash, make sure you have a tight grip on it and be very careful because they can slip away and it would be very easy to have an accident and cut yourself. So I just sort of wobble it back and forth and work my way through. And then I have a slice off the top and the bottom so they will sit flat. And now this is the hard part, to cut it in half. And I start off by just sort of whacking the knife into it and then taking the back of my hand and I take it out and I keep doing that all the way around until there's like a starting crack, I guess you would say, to slice through it. And then where you can get the knife in, the point, and go all the way to the center. But I just keep working my way around this way. For me, this works. If you know a better way, please share it. So now I'm just going back over where I had started with the knife point in there and cutting all the way through. So it will break in half. And now we have to clean out those seeds. You don't want those seeds. We have to make a nice little pocket to put the filling. So we're going to make it nice and clean. I put the seeds and the guts to the side. You can make broth from it. I have a video on that. This time the chickens got it. So just go around and get it a nice, clean pocket in the center of your acorn squash without any of those fibers. And I just keep scraping and scraping, kind of like you do when you're doing a pumpkin or anything, because you want the nice flesh, not those fibers. Now I'm going to spray a cookie sheet that I have parchment on, and we will season up very basically these acorn squash. I put salt and pepper. Sometimes I might put some garlic, but usually it's just salt and pepper. You can drizzle some oil in there too if you want. I don't always. So now they're in the oven and they're going to roast until they're fork tender. And I'm going to start the stuffing. I have celery and onions here, and I will put the recipe down below. And we're going to let those cook and get nice and tender, and the onions will get translucent. And I will season them with some salt and a little bit of pepper. But we're going to let them just kind of hang out until they're nice and tender, because the stuffing doesn't actually cook that long in the oven. So just keep sauteing them. And then I have cut apples at the side there and also a clove of garlic. Actually, it's 2 cloves of garlic. They were big cloves. And I will add them once everything in the pan starts to soften up some. So I added that, and I also added a pound of venison sausage that I had. And we're going to brown the sausage and get the apples tender and have the garlic go through it all. And it's an amazing fragrant smell. It just smells amazing. So just keep cooking it until everything is nice and browned and cooked. You want that meat cooked through. Then we add 1 cup of breadcrumbs. And I probably could have added less because my sausage, since it's venison sausage, didn't have a lot of grease. So I could have gone, I'd say like 2/3 a cup to 3/4 of a cup. And then it's a 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. And we're going to get that all incorporated and get the bread toasted on the pan. It gives it extra flavor. You want to make sure you cook it for a while in the pan and just don't mix it and put it straight into the squash. So we're just going to keep moving it around so nothing sticks. And as more juices come out from the different vegetables, And I did add some water to moisten this more. I could have added oil or butter, but I didn't want to add the grease, so I just added water. You could even add some chicken broth if you wanted, but water worked fine. And just add it until it will kind of like clump together, like how stuffing will. And then I seasoned it up some more. I added some thyme. And just keep moving it so it doesn't stick. And then it will be ready to stuff. And the acorn squash got nice and tender and brown, kind of caramelized. And now I'm going to pile in this stuffing and just divide it between the two. And I will press it down and compress it so that it will stick in there. I don't want it real loose in there. I want it to, when it bakes, to form into like nice firm stuffing. So I'm just dividing it between the two and patting it down, and we will have all the filling between the two acorn squash. If I have extra, I just put it in a little casserole, just a tiny one, and bake it along with the acorn squash. It always gets eaten. These are about ready to go in the oven. I put them in at 375. I'll let them bake for a little bit and then put cheese on top and let the cheese melt for the very end. And here they are out of the oven. They're very hot. I let them rest before I serve them, and I will cut them in half. Here we go. Here's a bite. Very good, and it makes a lot. A full one, no, a half of a acorn squash. Unless you got little ones, it's too much for one person. Very good. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time at Pike Creek Farm.